Welcome to another episode of Axline Solutions. We're helping you build happier and more effective teams. Today I'm joined by Michael Curtis, who's going to be talking about motivating teams today. Michael, can you give me a little bit about your background?
Sure. I worked for Target for almost 8 years now in a leadership position, and really have focused on working with teams and building teams and including everyone in my team to motivate them and really drive them to work on the processes. I graduated from Purdue University with a retail management degree, and then the University of Phoenix with a master's of business administration.
Fantastic. Working at a place like Target, I'm sure motivation plays a very important key. So tell me, how would you describe what motivated employees look like?
I think it varies for every individual. I think in a generic form, I think it's really just about being happy, and when you're motivated, you're really dedicated to something and setting your own personal goals, and I think that's the connection there is a motivated employee really has a personal goal set out for them and really driving for those.
So it's bringing the company goals and making it more personal so that they can identify with it?
Yeah, I think it's all about that individualization with bringing that company large philosophy to how can they impact it on a small level.
Motivation is something we've heard a lot about lately in a lot of publications and books. What is the value in having motivated employees and keeping them motivated?
I think the biggest thing is one, they're happier. They want to come to work because they have those goals to work for. Two, I think they're more self-driven as well. So it's easier then to kind of lay out the goals for your team and your work, and then it's easier to have those team members really go for those and work towards that goal. I think it's just all about creating just that better team, really, and creating a happy environment for people to work in.
And what are some reasons that employees may not be motivated?
I think if there's a disconnect between the overall values and their personal values, I think that's one of the biggest reasons. I think the other reason, too, is if you fail to bring that individualization into it, I think it's easy for them to lose that motivation.
So in your experience, what are some ways that we can motivate our workforce?
I think the biggest one is really getting to know the people that work for you, and really remembering that how you motivate one team member isn't going to be the same for how you motivate every team member, and really trying to figure out what is it that requires that team member to motivate, and as the manager knowing that you have to spend a little more time to really individualize that and really work individually to say, like, this is what motivates this team member, but then that the opposite motivates my other team member, and not being afraid to really take that extra time to do that.
We can't depend on a one-size-fits-all motivation plan.
No, definitely not for motivation.
Then what are some examples on how you could tailor motivation? What would be a couple suggestions or a couple of things you've tried?
Some of the biggest ones that I see in Target is, competition. I think that works for a lot of people, and really kind of how do you set up two people that are really great at something to set up that competition and see who can be the best and who comes out on top, because everyone's going to win in the end. Another way I think too is setting those personal goals for those people that might not enjoy competition, but really want to challenge themselves and say, here's a milestone that we can reach. How do we work together to reach that milestone? And then continuing to say, great, awesome job, you did it, and now here's the next milestone that we need to reach.
Some of us are what we call a matrix leader, meaning that we don't control people's bonuses. We don't control their pay raises. We have to lead with influence instead of monetary rewards. What are some ways that you've seen that might work to motivate those people if you don't have direct control over those pieces?
I think even if you don't have direct control, you kind of know what goes into the piece of that. So I think explaining to them how their work really goes into that. I think that's a big piece too. It's not saying like, yep, I can control exactly what you get, but saying like, here's what they look for in each category, and to get to this category, this is what you have to do. So I think really if they understand what each category is in the end, that will definitely help as well. I think also if you just create strong relationships with people, they'll want to work for you more as well, and I think that's the more important part, is if you see them as more of a person rather than someone that just comes to work and works for you and does things for you, then you're really going to see more motivation because they want to work with you as well and really buy into your philosophy and leadership.
Because now they care about you and want to see you succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Fantastic. And what does motivation, do you think, do for the bottom line?
I think it increases productivity, which is always great for the bottom line. Less payroll to do more things, I think, is an important part. It drives for better results overall, I think, too. So everyone's working on the same things and the same goals, and really motivated to complete that as a team. So you're going to see better and faster results. which just increases your bottom line and really drives for that.
On a personal level, what most motivates you and keeps you engaged?
I think it's about my boss really a lot, and how do they take the overall vision and bring it to what I'm doing and how I'm affecting that and how I play into my team and my peers. So there's 10 of us in my store, and what does my part look like in driving us to be a great team, and really just taking the time to celebrate the wins and maybe forget for a little bit that there's a lot of opportunities out there and really just celebrate on those really important wins that we've experienced.
Do you have any other closing thoughts or remarks about motivation or employee engagement that you'd like to share?
I know I've said it a lot, but I believe in my experience it's been true that it's all about getting to know an individual and really having them really buying into what they do for you and really supporting them and sharing in their wins, and then you're going to see that return back to you tenfold.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for another episode of Axline Solutions.